Welcome to the Japanese gardens. Right now we're walking through the Japanese garden, but really what we're looking for is medicinal plants in the Japanese garden. Now we're in the Japanese gardens and we're about to find out what these plants are. So let's start with this one right here. So right behind me is the Japanese maple. Can't be in Japan without the famous red bridge. So we're walking by the teepa now. That's the teepa tree right there. Is it medicinal? Let's find out. So that's the rosewood tree, but it's not medicinal. Pretty though, we got the pink plant right here. So we know about this plant. This is Chinese holly, but it's in Argentina, it's called muérdago. If you want to know more about Chinese holly, check out my video on it. So this bed right here is a species of jewelweed. And if you remember my video in Canada, you'll know that I went over jewelweed. And it does have medicinal value. Check out that video if you want to learn more about jewelweed. You can't go to Japan without this plant right here. This is the Japanese black pine, rated 2 out of 5 according to PFAF. It has anti-rheumatic properties. This plant also helps with kidney and bladder complaints, as well as some skin like sores, blisters, and boils. So this plant right here is known as the azum, but it's not really medicinal. But it does have a 1 out of 5, but really nobody knows why. Let's continue our stroll. Can't go to Japan without seeing these fish right here. Cannot go to Japan without this right here. Still looking for medicinal plants. What are we gonna find next? Let's go see if that's medicinal. We found another medicinal plant. Similar to the last one, it's not that highly rated and it's really only cardiac and stomatic, but it is still 1 out of 5 according to PFAF and medicinal plant. Right there is lily of the Nile. Can't go to Japan without a pond. So here we have our nice little pond. Right behind me is another medicinal plant, and honestly, it's the best medicinal plant to date. This is lily magnolia. Go over some of its great medicinal properties. 1, it is tonic. 2, sedative. It's also carminative, febrifuge, anodyne, and analgesic. Finally, the main effect of this herb is to constrict blood vessels in the nasal passages so that it is taken internally in the treatment of sinusitis, allergic rhinitis, and colds with a runny nose or cathar. In Argentina, it's called Magnolia purpura. This is another plant that we've done before. We found this plant in Cordoba, Argentina. This is French lavender. If you want to learn about French lavender, make sure to check out my video on it. We found our next medicinal plant. This one's 3 out of 5 as well. This is called sweet gum. So this plant is antiseptic, carminative, diuretic, expectorant, sedative, stimulant, vulnerary. What can this plant help you with? The resin is an ingredient of Friar's balsam, a commercial preparation based on styrax benzoin that is used to treat colds and skin problems. The mildly astringent inner bark is used in the treatment of diarrhea and childhood cholera. And now let's walk up the famous Japanese red bridge. Can't go to Japan without a red bridge. From this red bridge, you can see the beauty of the whole entire Japanese garden. Just look at what we're walking by here. This beautiful walkway right here in the Japanese garden in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Let's move on to another iconic scene when you go to Japan. This tree right here. This is another plant that we have gone over before. This is Oriental Platycatus or Platycatus orientalis. Again, if you want to find out more about this plant, check out my video on it. And we found another medicinal plant. This plant right here is called mulberry. It's a very native Chinese plant. It's rated 3 out of 5 according to PFAF. Let's find out some of its medicinal properties. Recent studies have shown that it improves with elephantitis. It is analgesic, emollient, sedative. The leaves are antibacterial, astringent, diaphoretic, hypoglycemic, odontalgic, and ophthalmic. They're taken internally for colds, influenza, eye infections, and nosebleeds. Its main use in herbal medicine is as a coloring and flavoring in other medicines. The root bark is antitussive, diuretic, expectorant, and hypotensive. It's used internally for asthma, coughs, bronchitis, edema, hypertension, and diabetes. The roots are harvested in the winter and dried for later use. The bark is anthomenic and purgative, used to expel tapeworms. And we found another medicinal plant right here, Camellia. What are some of its properties and what can it do? The flowers are astringent, homeostatic, salve, and tonic. When mixed with sesame oil, they are used in the treatment of burns and scalds. The plant has also shown anti-cancer activity. Now we're going up the stairs, getting in the shade a little bit. Can't go to Japan without the samurai. And just like that, we found another medicinal plant, the queen of the meadow. This plant has a long history of herbal use. The leaves and flowering stems are alterative, anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, aromatic, astringent, diaphoretic, diuretic, stomatic, and tonic. The plant is harvested in July, and when it is in flower, it can be dried for later use. The herb is valuable for diarrhea, as well as treating children's diarrhea. A homeopathic remedy is made from the fresh root. The German Commission E-Monographs, a therapeutic guide to herbal medicine, approved this plant for cough, bronchitis, fever, and cold. This plant behind me is called kaki, or Japanese persimmon. It's rated 3 out of 5. According to PFAF, has a lot of medicinal value. Let's go over it. Its medicinal properties include anthomenic, antitussive, antivirosis, appetizer, astringent, demulcent, expectorant, febrifuge, hypotensive, laxative, silagogue, stomatic, and stypic. Now, what does it help with? The freshly ripe fruit helps with constipation and hemorrhoids. When cooked, it's used to treat diarrhea. The juice from the unripe fruit helps with hypertension. The fruits, picked greens, and ripen in containers with the leaves become very sweet and are considered to be antifebrile, antivenous, and demulcent. The calyx is used with treating hiccups. Finally, they become encrusted with a white powder, and this powder is considered to be anthomenic, anti-hemorrhagic, antivenous, expectorant, febrifuge, and restorative. Hortensia is known as big leaf hydrangea, a plant that we just released. If you want to learn more about big leaf hydrangea, make sure to check out my video on it. Cypress tree right there. And that concludes my day at the Japanese garden in Buenos Aires, Argentina. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click that subscribe button.